back. Day number 2 of Money Momentum. Let me make sure that we're all good to go. Um, Looks like we've got some people jumping in on Instagram. As you jump in, say hello. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm sorry, I'm just a couple minutes late. I had another live that I was in the middle of, and it went just a few minutes over. I see someone that I haven't talked to in a while. Dear friend, Travis Shields just jumped on. For those of you who don't know Travis Shields, you should. He's the ultimate in the sense of video. He had a lot to do with all the videos that Brendan Burchard created and all of that stuff. So Sabine is here from Germany. All right, we give it one more minute or so as we come in. Orlando. I'm going to be in Orlando later this month, but like for a moment, I'm flying in to get on a cruise ship, to get on a Petri dish with 6,000 people going to an island. All right. Breckenridge, Colorado's in the house. Awesome. So this is going to be fun. How many of you saw day 1? How many of you did the exercise? How many did the exercise for day 2? This is an interesting one that a lot of people they miss. This idea. Okay. Here's the thing. The prompt for today was there are no participation trophies in the wealth creation game. On the path to financial freedom, you don't get to financial freedom just because you happen to be there. There isn't serving time. There isn't doing any of that. It truly is an active role that you've got to take. Now, I get this. A lot of people say, well, I want to have passive income. And that's fine and dandy. You can try to have passive income and do those things. But the reality, I haven't seen day 2. I'm here. This is day 2 right now. But the reality is that there is no such thing as passive income. I get what some of the commentators and the TikTokers and all these folks that are telling you this, but here's what I know from decades of doing this. We have a relationship with money. We have a relationship with wealth. And because it's a relationship, if we want that relationship to grow, if we want that relationship to flourish, if we want that relationship to reach its potential, we can't be passive about it. Think about this. This year I will have been married 13 years. She is a saint to have stayed with me 13 minutes sometimes. All right. I've got an amazing, amazing wife. And if we took a passive perspective to our relationship, do you think that we would stay married very long? And I say this because the tendency is to believe that we're trying to get to a point where I don't have to do anything and the money comes in. Now, there is something to that. Okay. We talk about it. My book, Build Your Money Machine, is about creating a money machine, but it's about getting your money to work harder for you than you ever did for it. It isn't about set it, forget it, and never look at it again. It is the separation of your efforts and the returns on those efforts and separating those two. So, if you're a coach, if you are, someone in services, a lot of times we're swapping hours for dollars. It's a horrible business model. But our efforts for the money coming in is like a one-on-one relationship. I made a lot of income this year, probably one of my larger years, but I made more in my portfolio. The money made more money than I made. And both of them were in 7 figures. And I don't say that to brag or boast or any of that. I just want you to understand that it's about creating something that works harder for you than you did for it, but it doesn't mean that we relinquish it. So in order for that portfolio to grow, what did I do? I kept my fingers on the pulse. I worked from scorecards. I worked from things. I was in the game, in the mix, taking a look and monitoring and doing those things. I'm not necessarily every day doing it, but that's the leverage we're trying to create. And so this idea of set it and forget it, I'm hoping that you'll forget about the set it and forget it, because what I want you to do is, one, be in the game. We got to be on the field if we want to be on the path to financial freedom. We have to be on the field if we want to build wealth. We have to be actively in play to do that. Otherwise, if it happens by happenstance. It happens by coincidence. And it's not something that you can replicate and duplicate. So the key is that perspective. And that's why this prompt was so important. We started yesterday with the prompt of money is a result, not a purpose, to get clear on the why, to get clear on what it is that we're trying to create and why we're creating it. But today, so we can get clear on the why, we can get introspective, we can meditate, we can do all those things and get an idea of what the why is. Let me make sure I have the chat up here. And Linda, Jim, all right, Chicago. So, and we can get clear on the why, but it doesn't get us to where we want to go if we don't take action, if we don't get in the game. And that's why this was the second prompt, is that I simply want to say, hey, let's find one or two little things you need to do. Because what I know is that even if you put one toe in front of the other toe, you can actually take 1,000-mile trip. It's going to take a long time to do it that way, but you still make progress. But if I stand there and think about the 1,000-mile trip, I'm not moving. I'm not making progress. And that's what it is with your money, with your finances, is to really start to look at it from that perspective. I got to get in the game. And here's the challenge that I hear. Mel, I'll start investing when I make more money. Here's the truth. If you're not investing today, you won't invest tomorrow. If you aren't investing when you make $100, you won't invest when you make $1,000, because wealth creation is a behavior, it's a habit, it's a choice. This is why I'm not concerned about whether you invest $5, $2, $10, $105. I'm concerned that you take the action to develop the muscle to make it happen. And I want to talk about some things to do to facilitate. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this is hitting home for some of you. And I get it. People say, well, that's complicated. And that's why I have an advisor. And so, the advisor's taking care of it for me. But here's the challenge. Your advisors, like I work as a family CFO for my elite clients. I basically am right by their side every step of the way in their business and in their finances. Okay. And I only take on a handful of those. I work closely with my master's clients and everything. But I never say, give me the wheel, let me drive. Your advisor shouldn't have their hands on the wheel. Your advisor should be to the right and the left, guiding you, navigating with you, but your hands are on the wheel. That's how you get in the game. And I get that's a complicated and all that stuff, and it looks complicated, but that can get solved. And so when we look at this, there are three things that I think you need to have to really do this. And we'll talk about the three things. We'll talk about some actions to take, and then I'll open it up for questions, but hopefully this makes sense. If we look at it, is first and foremost, we go back to yesterday's prompt. Do you have a vivid vision for your life? I mean, vivid. I mean, like specific. I want to live here. I want to do this. I want to travel X number of times. I want to travel this way. I want to be, I want to be in a tent in Montana. I want to be in a yacht in Monaco. I don't care what it is, but what I care is that you're clear on it. Because once you're clear on that vision, and here's the thing, here's the caution. If we're not careful, we allow the how to erode the desire. Here's what I mean by that. Is I want to have $1 million. I want to have 5 million. I want to have 10 million. Okay. Whatever the number is. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, but I'm not even making 100,000. I don't know how to do it. And all of a sudden the desire, you say, well, then you decide to allow the lack of understanding how to erode the desire for the direction you want to go. The how isn't important yet. The desire, the why, the clarity is more important at the beginning. The how will reveal itself, but it'll only reveal itself through action. Contemplation doesn't give you results. Contemplation doesn't give you clarity. Contemplation isn't going to get you there. What we need to do is take an action. And from that action, we get a result. Now, that result might be a celebratory result, or it might be a lesson result. But nonetheless, we get a result. And from that result, we make another decision to take another action. Think about this. I make a decision, and that's a point. The problem is that sometimes we don't even want to make the decision because we're afraid that that sets a direction, but we don't even know from one point, it doesn't tell us which way we're going. 2 points, it starts to tell us where we're going. 3 points, we get a real direction. 4 points, but the reason we make the decision is not to set a path, but to get us in movement, in motion, so we can get feedback and make a better decision. So we start with the vision. We start with the vision, and we get really clear on what you want for your life, what that looks like. Now, if you're in an intimate relationship, if you're married, if you're intend to be married, if you're engaged, if you have someone that you are sharing life with, this vision should be done together. My wife and I, we have a vision for our life. We know what we want to do in the next 12 months, the next 20 years. And that's the path, that's what's informing the things we do. Okay. The vision is about the mind. It's truly about the mind. Now, when I say vision, I want to be really clear. Yes, I talk a lot about finances and money and wealth. The vision isn't just about your money. The vision is about your health. It's about your relationships. It's a holistic vision about your life, because if you have a huge bank account and you have horrible relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your employees, if you have an entrepreneur, if you're in business, with your community, people don't like you and all that stuff. I got to tell you, that's a bankrupt life. I don't care how big the account is. Great. So you have a trophy of a bunch of dollar bills. But what are we gonna be remembered for? You were a grouch, you were miserable, no one wanted to be around you, all that stuff. Why? Your health sucked, all that. It doesn't make sense. So when we talk about the vision, I want you to consider all the domains of life in the Affluence Blueprint and some of the things that we do. We start with in the book, we even talk about the domains of life, because the reason we want the money isn't for the money. The reason we want the money is to allow us the freedom and the choice to live all the domains of life fully expressed. That's it. To live all the domains of life fully expressed. And so everything we do has to start with a vision, has to start with that. That's partly the mind. That's number one. The second thing, though, then, is if we have the vision, we have to have the conviction to do what it takes. The conviction to take the actions, the conviction to grow, the conviction, not the desire. Desire, we all have desires. But I mean the conviction that you say something and people go, get out of her way. She's going places. That's what we got to do. The conviction is from the heart. Some of you know, in June of 2019, I got diagnosed with cancer. I went through 2 surgeries, a couple tumors taken out, a bunch of treatments. In December of 2019, they said, you're good. April comes along. I do an event, April of 2020. I do the virtual event because it was just as the pandemic started. The day after I finished that 3-day event, I go in for my next scope and scan. And the surgeon looks in there and he says, oh, there's something. I thought I was clear. I thought I was done. I thought I was good. And I came out of that with him saying the cancer's back. And I spiraled. I got bitter. I got resentful. I got scared. I sat back and says, I'm never going to get through this. Here we go again. I got, what happens? Am I going to lose my bladder? All the things came back. And I had a conversation with a dear friend, and he says to me, do you know what the outcome is you want? I said, well, that's an obvious question. Yes, I know the outcome. I want to crush this thing. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have it come back. I want to live my life fully. I love life way too much. I love people too much. I want to serve. I don't think I'm done here. And he says, well, if you know that that's the outcome, what do you need to do each day to get you there? He says, what would you do today? Not tomorrow, not a week from now, not a year from now, not 10 years from now. What do you need to do today to move you closer? And get convicted to that. And keep going the next day and the next day. It's the same thing with your wealth. It's the same thing. I get it. Your circumstances may be that I'm in debt. I'm in a hole. I got to dig out of the hole. Great. We'll get you to dig out of the hole, and then we're going to teach you to build a mountain. All right. A lot of people, they say, what's the difference between you and Dave Ramsey? Dave gets you out of the hole. I'm going to help you build the mountain. But we got to get you out of the hole if you're in the hole. If you're not in the hole and you're halfway up the mountain, let's build the mountain faster. But we have to have the conviction of the day to take the steps. That's the heart. It's invested. You're fully vested. You are in there. You're not convincing yourself every day. Nope. This is the outcome, and I will do what it takes to get there. So number 1 is the vision. Number 2 is the conviction. That's the heart. And number 3 is action. Is action. That's the feet. People will tell me, well, here's my values. I said, don't tell me your values. Don't tell me your values. I'll figure out your values. All I got to do is watch your feet. See, your actions will tell you what your values are, what your priorities are. Someone wants to tell me, they say, I want to be financially free. I say, great. What are you doing each day to get you there? Are you doing anything to get educated? No. Are you putting any money away? No. Are you living on credit cards? Yeah. Well, then you're not really convicted. You would like to be financially free, but you're not committed. You're not convicted to it. You haven't declared it. And the actions are showing the truth. Our feet will give us away. So if we're saying that I want to have a beautiful relationship with my husband or my wife, when they come home from work, Do you put things down and look them in the eye and say, how was your day? I made that mistake. I was busy because I worked from home. She worked in the field for a while. She works from home now. Now she can't get me out of her office. But the fact is that she would come home from being in the field. She's tired and I'm busy. And I go, oh, hi. What does that do for her? If I truly want to have a wonderful relationship with my wife, you know what? That 15 minutes when she got home from work was really important to sit back and say, put everything down, push away from the desk, turn and look at her and say, hey, glad you're home. You know, that 15 minutes is more powerful than the rest of the night. And to do it in a way that is truthful, authentic, sincere. You know, so many people, I'm going to the gym. I love going to the gym right after the New Year's. I go to the gym. I work out 5-6 days a week. I love going to the gym New Year's because there's all these new people. They're in there with they got their matching sets, you know, their everything. They're in there. And they got this inspiration to get in there and like, I'm going to lose weight. And they fall off because they're interested, not committed, not convicted. And they're not willing to take all the actions. So the three things we need to do is to realize, one, first off, there's no participation trophies. We have to get in the game. We can't sit on the sidelines. So that means that, one, we need to create the vision. Two, we need to be convicted, get our heart involved to what we're doing. And three, we need to take the actions. Small, little actions. I'm going to give you three things to do. Plus, you had today's exercises to bring it through. Now, why don't we take action first? Here's why we don't take action sometimes. Okay, sometimes. One is we don't really desire it. It's not that important to us. It's not a priority. All right, then just be real with yourself. I'd like to be a millionaire. I'd like to be financially free, but it's not that important. Okay, ain't no judgment here. It doesn't matter. Oh, if my English teacher could hear me say ain't, she would just. So there isn't a judgment here around that, but just be real with yourself. So sometimes we don't take action because we really don't prioritize it. Okay. But sometimes we don't take action because we're not clear about what we want to do. So we need to get clear. That's why the vision and the vivid vision is so important to doing what we want to do, is to get really clear. Because if we don't if we just say, hey, you know, that the whole saying, go west, young man. Go, I don't even know where that came from, but go west, young man. Let's go west to where? Am I going to Arizona? Am I going to California? Am I going to New Mexico? Am I going to Colorado? Go west where? So the lack of clarity will cause inaction. And so the more important thing is to get really clear. That's why the vision, we start with vision first, is that, and know that you're not set in stone. Look, my vision's changed. I was a single full-time dad. And at first, my vision was just to be a dad, to try and figure out how do I pay my bills and take care of my son and make sure that he isn't a dysfunctional kid from a broken home. Then that vision changed. And it changed again when I met Stephanie. And it changed again when my grandchildren were born. It changed again when the cancer was there. So the vision isn't set in stone, but we need it clear and vivid to get us convicted and get us in action. Hopefully that makes sense. So three things that I think that we need to think about in doing this. The first is education. Because sometimes we don't take action because we don't understand or we don't know something. So education. If we truly want to be on this path to financial freedom, then we need to be at least literate in money investing and the financial way. So we got to educate ourselves. I get it. If you're not used to it and you've never done it before, it's new. That's all right. We all started to crawl, then we started to walk, then we started to run. We all didn't know how to tie our shoes one day. So what I want you to look at is, what is something you can do weekly or daily to educate yourself? Is it a podcast you could listen to? Is it an article or a blog you can read? If you need a podcast, I'll tell you one. The book, when it comes out, a book that you can read, where you just read. And don't put limits on it where you say, I'll read 30 minutes. I'll read an hour a day to get this. Here's the problem with that. Is that if you say I'll read an hour a day, and you all of a sudden see that you only have 15 minutes, you won't read the 15 minutes because it isn't an hour. And so then you end up reading none. I will read every day. So what's one book that you can read daily? There's a whole lot of books you can do. In June 11th, my book will be out. So that will be at the top of the list. Okay, so education is one piece. How can you educate yourself? How can you get more educated around the money? Stay in this journey with me. We're going to be putting a lot more content out this year, because I want 2024 to be a breakthrough year for each of you financially. This 10 days is meant to be a money reset for you. And if we can just grow just a little bit each day, by the time we get done with the year, we'll have exponential growth, dramatic growth. Okay? So education is one thing. The second is, I can intellectualize and read and listen and watch and learn, but I need to skill up. I need to skill up. So what skills do I need to learn to up-level my finances, my money, and the way I experience life? Okay? It might simply be, I need money management skills. I need to figure out how to create a cash resource plan or a budget. I need to figure out how to open an account. What skills do I need? I need to understand how to just look at an investment. But find one skill that you can learn each month. One skill a month. That means that you'll have 12 new skills by the end of the year. And the third piece is to know your starting point. Get really clear on where you're at. You know, who you are, what you have, and everything. Is to look at it from this perspective. Because here's what we know. Say my destination is, I don't know, Nashville. I'm going to go to Nashville. Great. I want directions to Nashville. But in order to get the directions to Nashville, I got to know where I'm starting from. Because the directions are different from Florida than they are from Louisiana, than they are from Texas, than they are from California. And yet what happens, especially in the money game, is we have this inkling. We have this thought that oh, I know that I'm having a hard time paying my bills, or my credit cards are up a little high. There's things that I gotta deal with. But if I just don't look, then I'm safe. Y'all, here's the deal. Stick your head in the sand. That's all right. But I promise you, when the train hits you, it's still going to hurt. So the best thing we can do is to get really clear on where we are, what we have to work with. What do I mean specifically? That means that I want you to understand clearly where your money is coming in from. How much is coming in? Your income, your earnings, your profits, whatever it is. Where the sources are, where it's coming in from, and how much each month. I know the ins, And now I need to know the outs. Where's it going? Okay. Hopefully the outs are less than the ins. But I need to understand where it's going without judgment. First, we're just going to put it on paper, put it on a spreadsheet, get really clear on it. It's one of the first things that we do. We have a old template that we work through. Because until we know where it's coming in from and where it's going, we can't manage, we can't tweak, we can't adjust, we can't find the breathing room, the margin to build wealth. And the third thing that I want you to know is your net worth. What's net worth? It's everything you own and everything you owe. So, and there's nuances to it, but I'm just going to give you the traditional number just to track because it's easier. And that is all the assets you own, your home, your investments, your 401k, your IRAs, those kinds of things, minus everything you owe, credit cards, mortgages, debt, student loans, those kinds of things. And the net is your net worth. What we want to see is a tracking of net worth going up over time. So if at the beginning, all you did is say, let me figure out where my money's coming from, how much, let me figure out where my money's going, and let me figure out what I own and owe. Now you know your starting point. From here, we can make better decisions. We can make more informed decisions because we have a clear picture of our starting point. So those are the three things that I'd have you do: education, skills, and know your starting point. Realize this: we will not solve wherever you're at and wherever you want to go today, tomorrow, or in a week. But I know from experience personally and experience with clients that if we take convicted action steps daily, weekly, and monthly, we will get there. Daily, weekly, and monthly, we will get there. Small things consistently done will create monumental and exponential change. The reason this is called the Money Momentum Series is when we take these small success micro exercises and we keep stacking them, what's happening is we're starting to create momentum. And from that momentum, we start to get velocity. And that's where we start to grow. I want to give you one other rule that I want you to think about here. And then we'll see if there's questions. Okay. And that is the 1% rule. For those of you that are sitting back saying, I'm not sure where to start, I want you to start with 1%. That's it. 1% is not going to make you rich. Well, unless you're making 10 million bucks. Okay. But yes, it is truly, Lisa, it is stacking. And I see the questions coming in, and I will go to those in a moment. Here's the 1% rule. Whatever, if you're not putting anything away for your future, if you're not building wealth, if you're not investing, you're not doing anything, I just want you to start with 1%. 1%. It's not a lot. If you make $1,000, you're going to put $10 away. You can afford the $10. It's not the $10 that matters. It's the behavior that matters. It's the decision and the commitment and the consistency of the behavior. Because here's what I do know is you make that 1% decision and you see it and you see it and you get used to it and you go, I wonder what happens if I do 3%. And now the 1% goes to 3%, then 5%, then 10%. Over time, we'll get you to 15, 20, 25%. But we don't jump there, especially if you're trying to figure this thing out. We'll just start with 1%. Now, those of you that are sitting back and saying, but I have, I'm salaried, I get a W-2 and I get a paycheck. Great. Here's what I want you to do. The next time you get a raise, let's say that you get a raise of 3%, cost of living raise or something, just take half of it and invest it. So if I get 3%, I'm going to put 1.5 away. I know I said it's the 1% rule, so 1.5%. All right. But here's why I'm saying this. I'm getting a raise. The raise was 3%. I didn't have 3% before, so I'm still getting a raise of 1.5%. I'll take 1.5%. to me, and the other 1.5%, I'll start creating that behavior. And over time, we start to build it. It's really important to take these micro steps, because it is through the micro steps that we create the change. I didn't get to where I'm at because all of a sudden it just poof, it appeared. It was small things that all of a sudden I said, I got 10 grand in the bank. Wow. And then all of a sudden it became 30 grand. Then it became 100. And then it became multiples because of the momentum. But we have to start somewhere. We have to get in the game. You don't get a participation trophy. It's important to get in the game. So clarity on vision, get conviction in the heart, action in your feet to take it. All right. Start small, make the decisions, get educated, figure out something that you're going to read, watch, or listen to every day, or at least every week. Figure out what new skill you're going to learn each month and know your starting point. Cool. All right. I hope that this helps. I hope this kind of puts some perspective on this prompt and this day's segment. We'll go to the next one tomorrow. But I want to answer some questions. I see some things coming in. I love these questions and everything. So let me jump to some questions too and see where we're at. But let me know what your takeaways are. Make sure that you're inviting people to these sessions. Like I said, this is me, you having a money reset, having a conversation. I got nothing to sell. This is 10 days. We're just doing it just to do it because I think it's the right time to do it at the beginning of 2024 to reset everything for you and make this year a breakthrough year. I want us to have a conversation 12 months from today where you look back and go, good year financially. All right? That's my desire for you. All right. So let's look at this. My why, this is Melissa. She says, my why is to have financial freedom to travel. I've started adding 10% to my 401k on a monthly basis. I only make 2 to 4K a month. Listen, Melissa, first off, congratulations on making the decision. That 2 to 400 will grow. I don't know how, I don't know your age. I don't know your stage. I don't know if you're getting a match. Make sure that we're getting the match in there. But the reality is that you're in the game. You're on the field. You're doing it. And as we find other income and we start to scale the income, we can elevate it. So congratulations on doing the right thing. So I will learn each day about money. She said, I'll learn each day about money management and start budgeting with a spreadsheet to start. Perfect. Just here's the thing. I just want you to be intentional. Your journey to financial freedom is an intentional one. It's not an accidental one. Because when it's intentional, we can duplicate it, replicate it, and keep it. I lost 1/3 of my net worth well into the 7 figures in a Ponzi scheme. In 18 months, I recovered it. And not only recovered it, I tripled it. And it was because of principles and things that they couldn't take away from me. Okay. So this is perfect. All right. So let's look at let's look at Instagram. What do we got here? Drew is in the house. He's always here. I mean, he's always good. What about dealing with expensive debt? It says candidate whisperer. So here's the thing. If we have expensive debt, and in today's higher interest rate environment, I'm not sure that there's such a thing as inexpensive debt. But depending on what it is, I don't know if it's credit card debt, student loan debt, mortgage debt. There is a hierarchy and kind of what we call the wealth priority ladder in which we allocate our income. Okay. The first thing actually that I want you to do is start to build some sort of financial liquidity cushion, something so you don't have to go deeper into debt if something happens. 60% of the people say they could not sustain themselves if they had an unexpected expense of $600 bucks. That's too thin of a margin. So depending on where you are on that piece, then I think that we put you on an accelerated payment plan to get this debt paid off. Here's what I want you to do. I want you can do it right here if you're still with me. and type in no debt. If you type in no debt, it will trigger something where I can send you the debt breakthrough calculator. It is an Excel spreadsheet. It's totally free. And I'll walk you through the best way to set your debt up for a pay down process that gets you to pay it down as quickly as possible. Okay. And there's a video training with it. I'll walk you through the whole thing. Okay. So go ahead and get yourself on a debt payment plan first. But at the same time, I am of the opinion and the experience that I'm not one that says you forego doing any investing until you're fully paid off with debt. I still think even if it's a small amount, you should be investing because I want you to exercise that investing muscle. So if you happen to have an extra $500 to put towards debt and investing, you might take $450 and put it towards the debt and $50 towards investing, but you're exercising two different muscle groups, the debt management and the wealth creation. And I want you to exercise them. Hopefully that makes sense. Tamara says, I literally started with 2% because that's what my company match was. Gradually, I increased my percentage over time. This is perfect. So if you're in a company that does a 401k match, you need to absolutely make sure you try to get that match. It's free money. Get the match. Okay? I still have a kidney to sell. Oh my God. Candidate, do me a favor, just put no debt in there. And a debt payment plan won't trigger it. Just put no debt in there. It'll trigger it. How much would you recommend having liquid in a high yield savings account versus stocks and bonds? Well, that depends, mate. All right. And then I see Joe's question over here, and I think they're consistent. We'll talk about them both at the same time because Joe's asking the question of what's the best type of savings accounts. All right. So savings accounts used to be horrible. You'd get 0.2% in them. Now we can get 5.5% in a high yield savings account, and it's insured. So it's a different game today. That won't stay forever. As interest rates drop back down, the high yield savings accounts will drop back down also. So get while the getting's good, and see what's happening. So here's the difference. How much should you have liquid in a high yield savings account versus stocks or bonds? You got to understand the money you'll, and I'll go deeper with your question, Joe, but the money that you bring in, each dollar has a job. Each dollar has a job. And they're not the same. A dollar might be to pay the mortgage. A dollar might be to put food on the table, or medical, or clothing, or transportation, or to give you peace of mind by having it liquid in an emergency fund. And you'll hear people say, well, then I'm not earning anything. Put everything into the stock market because at least I'm earning, I have a chance to make more money. The purpose behind having money in a peace of mind fund, as I call it, or emergency fund, is for that, to make sure that it is available to you when there's an emergency. And the definition of an emergency is it's not planned for. You don't know about it. So you can't sit back and say, hey, because the problem is if we put in the stock market, look, the market's dropped a bit. If we put in the stock market and now the value of that account goes down, you can't tell your emergencies to only happen when the stock market's at a high. It just doesn't happen that way. And Murphy's Law is going to say that it happens when the stock market's down. And now the 50,000 that you had in there that you needed for emergencies is only 40,000. So first things first, to be really clear, the money that is set aside for emergencies should be in a high yield cash account that is insured, that is 100% liquid, and isn't at risk of loss. because that's the purpose of it. It is safety. It's not for anything else. This isn't what's going to make you rich. It's going to give you peace at night to be able to sleep, and it's going to keep you out of the ditch if things happen. And so that's the purpose. It's not there for growth. Then the money beyond that, now we can invest it. So here's what I tell people. The general rule is 3 to 6 months expenses in an emergency fund. I think that's actually not necessarily the case. Depending on your situation, your age, your job, and what you do, I think it's 9 to 18 months. I think it's longer. And here's why. And I'll tell you the situations where I would put more in. Okay. If I'm an entrepreneur and business starts to struggle, it's not like I go out and get another job. I'm trying to work things out. It could take 1 to 3 months just to start seeing things turn around. And so 3 months isn't enough. And sometimes we're at a loss, we're paralyzed, we don't know what to do, we're in fear, so we don't even do anything for 3 months. So I'm saying, give myself 3 months of breathing room. Then we look at it and say, what else can we do? So I want 9 months, because the first 3 months are lost. The second 3 months, I'm getting on my feet. And the third 3 months, I'm finally doing something. So I want to give myself some breathing room. And the fact that we have the ability to get 5.5% returns makes it easier to stomach that at this point. Now, that's for an entrepreneur. What happens if we're an employee, we're a wage earner, someone that is in a job? Well, the question we got to ask ourselves is, one, if I'm in a single income household, so the whole household is relying on my income, that leans towards a longer time frame. If I'm in a job that is hard to get another job, in other words, it's a unique space, there isn't a lot of jobs, there isn't a lot of demand, it's going to take me a while to get a job, I need a longer time frame if I lose my job. If I'm in a two income household and we're living on one income, I can probably go shorter. If there's plenty of jobs out there and I can command a good job, I can probably go shorter. If I'm older, if you're in your 60s or something like that, and you don't have a lot of earning years ahead of you, or you've decided to slow down on earning, on working, we need a little more liquidity to sustain ourselves if, God forbid, something happens. So as I get older, I might increase the liquidity and decrease the risk of what I put in the stock market. So I know that, Megan, I didn't directly answer your question to a specific number, but the general rule for our clients is 9 to 18 months, average about 12 months. But we will flex it depending on their circumstances down to 6 months and up to 18 months. Okay. And then what other accounts are there? Joe, here's the thing. For savings accounts, given the kinds of rates that you can get, and I've got nothing to I get nothing from it. I would go to bankrate.com and look at the different high yield savings accounts and check it out, because they change. But the 3 characteristics you want in a high yield savings account is this: it must be 100% liquid. That means I can get to it within 48 hours. It must be 100% insured. Okay, because this is my safety fund, so I don't want to take risks with it. And it must be 100% fee free. There are no charges from the institution to have my money there. Okay. And as long as it has those 3 characteristics, I'm good with it. Now, you want to make sure that they're solid, they're substantial, and they have the ability to carry themselves. Now, having the insurance is really helpful. So I'm going to go to reputable places. I'm going to check them out. We've got a substantial amount in some high yield savings accounts right now, but we use the high yield savings accounts for a couple things. One, the peace of mind fund. Two, the opportunity fund. In other words, I think that there's going to be buying opportunities coming up, and I want to have the liquidity to take advantage of it. Three, the tax fund. We're making money and we got to pay taxes. I want to make sure that I put that away and it's taken care of. And so that's what I use it for in doing that. I don't use CDs. I don't use lockdown money markets where I have to leave it in 6 months, 9 months, or anything like that, because the rates aren't much different than a fully liquid, fully insured high yield savings account. So that's really kind of the way I look at it. See what else we got. First Bank of Omaha is at 5.5%. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Anything else that comes up? What high yield savings account? Okay. I was looking into American Express and Capital One. Go to bankrate.com and check them out. American Express isn't going anywhere. Capital One's not going anywhere. Look at their rates. Look at their insurance. Look at their requirements. I'll tell you, I've got most of mine at Wealthfront. I'm not endorsing them, but I've been with them for a while. Okay. Cool. Other questions? Anything else? Let's see. I see, Rosie, you want to kind of jump on, but you got to let me know what the question is before I bring you up live. Candidate says, do you move money back and forth if rates change? What percentage would prompt a move? So, okay, I'm going to be totally honest. I used to move money back and forth, but I don't really do that much anymore. If I saw that there was a percentage difference, like a 0.5% or more, I might consider it. I have accounts at 4 different high yield banks, but I will move the money around as I see fit. But the majority of it is in one at Wealthfront and everything. But I'm not playing the game for 0.1%, 0.2%. It's too much of a hassle to do that and keep track of it from doing that. So it's gotta be at least a 0.5% or more for me to consider moving. And I did that for a while, and I'm really not doing that now. I just don't have time, and the amount that it's going to change things really isn't worth the effort at that point. Jay Rabbit, when will you be speaking at Ultra? That's coming up. I actually just spoke in December at Ultra, but I'll be coming back for sure. I'm there every month, but yeah, I will be. Watch for me. We'll announce it because it's coming up. So, but I'm not at liberty to disclose that. But there's going to be a lot more speaking and a lot more stuff with me and meet and greets, especially with the book coming out. And I'm going to invite you all along for a journey. I hope that we get a chance to do this book launch so it becomes our book launch and not just my book launch. That we get to take it out to the world and do that and give you early access and all that stuff. So, but we're in the cover design phase and all that. So cool. All right. Any other last questions before we close out? So, and as I'm waiting for other questions, just know this, that we will post another prompt tomorrow morning around 8 a.m. Those of you that are on the list will get an email reminder of it. If you're not on the list, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to melabraham.com/momentum, get on the list. melabraham.com/momentum. That will also put you on the list to get the link to the replay page for these things, because I record these and we put them on a private replay page for a period of time. So you'll get access to the replay. Like I said, nothing to sell. I just want to serve. I want to help. I want to set you up differently for 2024 than ever before. And we'll do it from there. Okay. And then I'll go live tomorrow around 4, around the same time, to have a conversation around it. And tomorrow's going to be an interesting one. Tomorrow, you'll see that the prompt is an interesting one. Hopefully, you're doing the exercises. Post them, post screenshots, do what you can, and let's get the word out. Let's make a difference. All right. So, oh, look at that. Candidate Whisperer. Oh, man, now I got to figure out who you are. You're still using your Business Breakthrough Academy mousepad. Yeah, you're one of the OG. Oh, my God. So good to have you. Man. So, all right, y'all. It's always so good to chat with you. Always so good to have this conversation. Always so good to feel like I get a chance. I get a privilege to do what I get to do, to share with you, to talk with you, to serve and help. So I hope that you find this valuable, and that we get a chance to go further tomorrow. And we still have. This is only day number 2. This is only day number 2. So we've got 8 more days left. Linda, now I know who you are. Welcome aboard. So good to have you here. All right, y'all. You have a beautiful, beautiful evening, and we'll chat tomorrow. All right. Cheers to y'all.